What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and I got a guest with me. Tell them who you are, man.
Hey, it's Danny from Geekdom 101. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Let's talk about cartoons and explosions.
All right, so I made a video recently where it was like Ultra Instinct Goku versus Herald of Galactus Hulk, and I started thinking, and I was like, I should do a video with Danny where we asked the question: Can anybody in the Marvel universe stand against the character of Jiren from Dragon Ball Super, who, as I understand it right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, as I understand it right now, he's like, I think, the most powerful character we've seen so far?
He's the most powerful character outside of the gods. He's the most powerful mortal. Now, his backstory has not been revealed yet as of this recording, so we don't know if maybe he was a former god. There's lots of different theories out there, but as of right now, they're keeping him a mystery. He's pretty much a plot device. He's pretty much just a big, strong superhero from another universe, and that's literally all we know.
I think his power comes from power scaling. Like, where fans go to forums and they're like, I want my favorite hero to win, so I'm gonna cook the books so they win. Like, I feel like Akira Toriyama and them were just like, how do we take that idea and put it in the form of a character? And then they called him Jiren. Like, I feel like that's where he gets his power from.
He's just a big, muscular, he's what every comic book fan loves, a big, muscular badass who just tears people apart and doesn't even break a sweat doing it. We have not seen this man yet at full power, so his abilities could be quite scary. In fact, when he first powered up, he shook the entire void. He shook the entire world of void to the point where even the gods of destruction, all the gods, were in shock that a mortal could be that powerful. I mean, they really built that up. They've never built up a character this much since Frieza back in like 1990.
Oh, I know. That's the crazy thing, because I think that like when Goku first met him, like he teleported behind Goku, didn't he? And Goku was just like, what? Like like it was kind of nuts. No, I think it's cool. I mean, because honestly, seeing somebody like Jiren pop up and people are just like, my God, look at the power he has. It does remind me of the first time Goku went Super Saiyan. Here's Rob, you know, however old I was, 13, 14 years old, I don't remember. But like Goku turns into a Super Saiyan for the first time. And like, I remember reading about it online all the time, you know, like all the synopses of like when Goku becomes a Super Saiyan, and then seeing it happen, it's just like, oh dude, it's about to get crazy. You know, and things just started popping off, and it was so exciting to see, and so it kind of brings me back to when I was younger.
Right, and the thing about this character is they took that same feeling and they kind of doubled it and tripled it. I mean, you know, we've talked in the past about Super Saiyan God and how in the anime version of Goku versus Beerus, they're punching each other, and as they're punching each other, they're cracking the fabric of the universe. The entire universe is shaking, and there are stars and planets being destroyed during that fight. When Goku used Super Saiyan God against Jiren, which again, this has now been 2.5 or so years after that first Beerus fight. I think 2.5 or 3 years. I don't remember exactly how long it's been. Jiren blocked it with one finger. He used his index finger to block a punch that had the ability to shake an entire universe. So we're talking about a dude who is unfathomably strong. Not to mention that he didn't break a sweat during the fight. Goku was hitting him with Super Saiyan shots, didn't even bruise or even a paper cut. And then Goku used the Genki Dama, the Spirit Bomb, with all the energy of all the participants, including the ones that were eliminated, and Jiren reversed it on him with one hand.
Oh, I mean, God, dude.
They really...
Dude.
One hand, bro.
Dude, when that happened, I was like, what in the hell is going on right now? Man, like, dude, that was a crazy thing. Like when Goku gets like Ultra Instinct, I was like, dude, this is crazy. God, so many great memories. So much hype.
Yeah. And the rematch is coming. They are going to be doing that at some point in this arc. I will say this though, as far as scaling where he ranks in the hierarchy of power, you know, obviously we have the Omni King at the top. He can destroy a universe with a blink of an eye. In fact, he destroyed the multiverse in the Trunks arc by himself. Then we have the Grand Priest right below him, the father of the angels, and then we have the angels, and they do have reality warping abilities. The angels can reverse time for 3 minutes. They can create matter out of nothing. They can build, like they built the entire arena. They can create metals and things like that. Just, you know, and some of the other gods have that ability, but the angels seem to do it a lot more flawlessly. Plus, it's implied that the angels have all, at least Whis and Vados, have mastered Migate no Gokui, the Ultra Instinct power. They've mastered it, whereas Goku just tapped into it. But when it comes to like outside of those characters, it is stated that Jiren is more powerful than a god of destruction. They don't specify which one, but in the manga, they say he's stronger than Vermouth, which is his god of destruction from Universe 11. They don't say if he's stronger than Beerus, but it's hard hard to argue considering that he blocked Super Saiyan God Goku's punches with one finger. And again, this is years of training, so that version of God Goku is way stronger than the one we saw in Battle of God. So I do believe, if you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say he surpassed Beerus as well.
No, I kind of believe that, because I'd have to believe that all the gods of destruction, even though some might be stronger than others, that I imagine the difference between their strength level isn't that wide. Like,
I agree,
yeah, I don't think you'd have like Beerus who would just dominate all the other gods of destruction. I have a hard time kind of believing that. So if Jiren's more powerful than like his god of destruction, then he's either equal to or more powerful than all the gods of destruction. I mean, to me, it just makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to swear that it's gospel truth, and please don't take it that way, guys. I know some of you will.
I will say that when Goku first got Ultra Instinct, Beerus looked kind of frustrated because the whole thing about that power, the mastery of self movement, is that it's not even easy for gods to attain, which tells me that only a handful of them even know anything about it. But he did it, and Beerus looked very frustrated, almost like he was concerned that Goku was closing that barrier between them.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Whis like the first one to like master that, and then he was also using it on Vegeta and Goku when he was training him?
He was the first one that we saw in the series master it. He was teaching Goku and Vegeta in the Resurrection F movie and arc the secret of selflessness, which is the mastery of self movement, which is, it's all based on like Jeet Kune Do and Bruce Lee, and because Toriyama was a big Bruce Lee fanboy. Yeah, he was teaching them that the secret to being a great martial artist is to allow your body to work on instinct, not on memory, but it takes years of training and so on and so forth. That being said, he was trying to teach Goku and Vegeta that all the way back in that arc, and now in this arc, we're finally seeing the realization of it. In fact, when they released the teaser poster, it says something to the effect of the work of the gods is complete, and they showed Goku an Ultra Instinct. We didn't know what that meant back then, but now we know.
Yeah, that's crazy, because it's kind of nuts, because Goku's powers always follow like this sort of linear path. Like there's this huge fight, you know, like with Frieza or Cell or, you know, Majin Buu or something like that, and there's like a scuffle, and then he's like, okay, what did I learn? And then like the scuffle ends, and then like there's another scuffle, and then, you know, when the scuffle ends, it's like, okay, what did I learn? But like with Ultra Instinct, it's just like he kind of intuitively reacts to what it is they're doing. So instead of like having to focus on their counterattacks and watch what they're doing, he's just like, all he has to do is focus on what they're doing. And like that, I imagine that allows him to pick up like subtleties that he wouldn't normally be able to get under a regular circumstance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's interesting because when Goku's in that form, his eyes are silver, and it's implied that he's in a zombified state, because after he loses the power of Ultra Instinct, Vegeta asked him, he's like, hey, what was that? And he doesn't even remember. So it's almost like he goes into a trance where his body just moves by itself. Obviously, the way I think the story's gonna go is that eventually Goku will learn how to actually tap into it at will, and that will be hopefully his final form, because I think, in my opinion, there's too many transformations in this damn show already. I think this should be it.
Yeah. Well, it also begs the question, where do you go from there? Like, I mean, when it's like higher levels of power and it's like all these different stages of Super Saiyan, it's like, okay, look, that's cool. That makes sense because it's just a higher level of power to defeat a foe. But then you start getting into things like Ultra Instinct Super Saiyan. Actually, that sounds pretty awesome when you think about it. Like a Super Saiyan form of Ultra Instinct.
that could be the next level.
That would be pretty beast.
They gotta sell toys, bro. Dragon Ball Super is a toy seller. You know
Dude,
what I mean?
I'm just saying, like, imagine how Goku looks with Ultra Instinct with like Super Saiyan 3 length hair. That would be pretty boss.
The fan art's already out there, man.
Oh, I guarantee it is. Yeah, I can imagine it is. Like, it's crazy. Okay, so anyway, guys, so on sheer strength alone, like speed, accuracy, you know, just like energy, strength, like Jiren among the mortals is the most powerful we've seen so far. And so that begs the question, if we took the character of Jiren and we threw him in the Marvel universe, how would we fare? But in order to make sure this conversation doesn't go off the rails, we're going to provide some rules. The first thing we're doing is removing reality warping. And that's like the only rule we're going to have. Because like if Molecule Man was the person that Jiren had to face, Molecule Man can turn anything into anything. He controls reality. He's like a multiversal threat.
So like Franklin Richards, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they'd face off, like Jiren would just show up and be like, I'm going to destroy you. And they're like, no, you're not. And they turn him into a teacup and just smash it. I mean, you know, it's like, okay, well, I guess that's the end of Jiren. I mean, that would be boring. So we're going to grab characters and we're going to say, okay, like the strongest characters in Marvel Comics. And there's actually quite a few of them. But to me, I would argue that the absolute strongest person in Marvel, at least as far as I'm aware that ever existed, is probably Tryon Juggernaut. If we remove reality warping characters with insane levels of telepathy or telekinesis or whatever, then like Tryon Juggernaut is probably the most powerful. Now, do you know the story of Tryon Juggernaut?
Tell me. I know that you said he was more powerful than World War Hulk. Or right? Correct? Planet Hulk?
Yes. Yeah. He's on a whole nother level from World War Hulk. So back in the 90s, and I can't remember I want to say there was a story where Juggernaut like lost his Crimson Gem or something along those lines. I don't remember. But the whole idea was that he had basically traveled to like Korea or something along those lines because there was rumor of a second Crimson Gem. And so when he went to grab it, he was basically tricked by this crazy cult, and he lost his power. So maybe he didn't lose the first gem. I don't remember. Anyway, he ended up being imbued with like a second gem. And the whole idea was he was basically imbued with like the full power of Sidorak. And Sidorak is one of these entities that exists out there that's crazy. He just has his own dimension called the Crimson Dimension. To give you perspective of how strong Sidorak is, he once confined Galactus, and Galactus couldn't escape. At his absolute peak, and as soon as he became like Trion Juggernaut, he punched a hole through like this dimension. Like he started punching reality itself, which is an insane display of power. Like being able to break down the walls of reality just by sheer force, just by punching it, is crazy, but he's just imbued with the power of an entity. Now, while Sidorak can do things like warp reality, the Juggernaut didn't do that. It was just sheer strength on a level that we've never seen before. That's one of the reasons why I kind of pose him as a character, and I think he's really the only legitimate character. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else out there. I mean...
Well, as far as I know, I mean, unless you're going to go into God territory, you know, and talking about, you know, the Lady Death and characters like that, I wouldn't think so either. Now, what's interesting, though, from the Dragon Ball perspective is that in the Buu arc, Majin Buu was able to scream at the top of his lungs and unleash his power and crack a hole in the dimensional fabric. So that sounds very similar to what we're talking about here with, you know, Trion Juggernaut, because, you know, Buu did it, and actually Vegito, this is before Super Saiyan Blue, before Super, was able to punch through him cracking the universe's fabric, or the dimensional fabric, that is. So I feel like that's been done even back in Z, kind of, sort of. It wasn't a punch, but it was a scream.
I imagine it still kind of stands to the same thing, though. It's the same thing by two different means. You're breaking down the walls of reality just by virtue of your actions.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If that happened all the way at the end of Z, we're now significantly more powerful than end of Z characters.
I kind of imagine, I mean, to sidetrack for a second, I think it'd be funny. Like you go back and you watch like the end of Dragon Ball Z, and like Goku and Vegeta are just like struggling against Majin Buu. Imagine if Jiren was there.
Oh, it would have been a wrap.
Oh, yeah, it would have been nuts. Yeah, it would have been all she wrote. I mean, it would have been funny. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you don't see very many characters in Marvel that can basically destroy, you know, the fabric of reality, or punch a hole through the fabric of reality through sheer force. I mean, a lot of people who do that like warp reality, you know, they use their crazy powers in order to pull that off. And so I kind of feel like just by sheer strength alone, like Jiren probably would be able to dominate the Marvel universe. But that begs the question, what if like a cosmic entity put all their power into strength? Like the living embodiment of the universe, Eternity, was like, okay, so like I am going to use all my power, and I'm only going to apply it to my physical strength, and fought Jiren. So if Goku and Beerus were able to affect the universe by virtue of their punches, Jiren being that much higher, like where do you think that battle would stand?
No, I think if a Marvel cosmic being put all of their power into strength, Jiren would be history. Because I think people underestimate how powerful these cosmic beings are. Like Eternity is like beyond a god. It's like sort of a representation of existence. I don't even know how to even describe it. Like a principality. I remember when I was a kid looking at my Marvel Comics trading cards when I was super into it, and I remember just being in awe of this, like this idea of like the in-betweener, like this idea of this physical representation of matter. So I do believe, I think that would be able to knock off Jiren, because I just think it's too much power. I mean, we're talking about maintaining balance of existence. It's hard to comprehend those kind of things, you know?
It is, and normally I would agree with you, but if Goku and Beerus fought on such a scale that their impacts were able to affect the physical structure of the universe, and that power paled in comparison to the power that Jiren had, I think it presents a pretty legitimate case that like if the universe got up in the form of Eternity, if it could get up and walk around, and it was Eternity, and it channeled the power of the universe into a punch and hit Jiren, while it may like injure him, I don't think it would kill him. Like I think he would probably live.
It's hard to say, because when you're doing these kind of thoughts, it is. Because the thing about Jiren too is that he's also super fast. You know, the only way to keep up with Jiren as far as speed goes is with Ultra Instinct. And when Goku was doing Ultra Instinct, Jiren was actually, for a second there, for just a split second, he was challenged. So we're talking about an incredible amount of speed, but I just feel like if you have a being that represents the universe, that is like the embodiment of the universe has no beginning or end as far as we know. Of course, in theory, the universe is eternity, it's endless. So I just feel like something that's endless is faster than light, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I mean, that's, I don't know.
It is a weird concept. Like, I know it's a weird question to ask, but like that stuff's so fascinating to me. Because I mean, the universe has a finite start point and a finite end point. we know the universe will end. I mean, that's what Oblivion, I think it is. That's what he represents, is the time between the universe ending and the universe beginning. So like the universe will go away, which means it has a finite level. The power of the universe is whatever power, all the suns and everything, but even eternity as a being can be destroyed. I mean, we've seen that happen. Like a being of sufficient strength can destroy eternity. But you're talking about, you know, like matter manipulation. But even then, that's why power scaling is so weird, man, because if Goku can punch in such a way that it can potentially fracture the universe, and Jiren can easily withstand that kind of physical force, then I have a hard time believing like the universe would be able to like kill Jiren. I don't know. That's just kind of how it comes across to me.
Well, it's tough because, you know, we also got to talk about the spirit bomb, the Genki Dama, in that Goku is using energy not just from his friends, but also energy from himself. And if Goku has that kind of power inside of him to, like we talked about, crack the universe or whatever against Beerus, then that spirit bomb, that Genki Dama, had to contain at least a portion of that power, and Jiren blocked it with one hand, you know, effortlessly it seemed, you know. And then Goku tried to send it back to him. They had a little volleyball thing, but it just wasn't enough. And that, of course, with Goku using all of his power to stop himself from dying, is what triggered the Ultra Instinct, the power from to tap into it. So it's just interesting to me because you make a very, very good point in that it wasn't just the punches he blocked that was impressive. He also nerfed Kaioken Blue times 20. You take the god power of cracking the universe, you add the blue multiplier, which we don't even know what it is necessarily, but it is more powerful. It's been confirmed. Then you add times 20 to that. So it's like times 20 of the ability to crack a universe. So does that mean you can does that mean you can crack 20 universes? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Crack the multiverse.
Right? So you know what? Like at the end of the day, you kind of have convinced me too that there's a possibility Jiren can win. It's just so hard to understand like an entire universe being put into one person. But you're right. Like, you know, we've seen the gods be destroyed. We've seen objects in the Marvel universe that can do things like that. You know, it's tough to say though. Like, I can't really give you a straight answer, and I hate to cop out like that. One more thing I want to point out: we haven't even seen Jiren at full power yet, because the thing about the tournament, they disabled the Bukujutsu. The Grand Priest is so powerful, he can actually disable techniques. He can disable specific kinds of energy from being used. So you cannot fly in the arena even if you try to. The Grand Priest has deleted the move. It's weird to think about, but he has. And yet we see Jiren there meditating and floating. He is floating. So his power may supersede not necessarily the Grand Priest as far as combat ability, but he can at least supersede the ability to delete the Bukujutsu, which to me is like, yeah, you know what? Maybe he will be eternal.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, you know what I think would make it easier? Like, okay, because I think it was in Dragon Ball GT, which Dragon Ball GT sucks, and I guess we can't really use that anymore, but we're going to. Sorry about your luck, guys. But I feel like in, what was it, Dragon Ball GT, I don't remember if it was the Evil Dragon Saga, or which one it was, but he made like a universal spirit bomb, and like threw it at the dragon, and it didn't necessarily stop. If we had that in Dragon Ball Super, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it took in this final battle between Goku and Jiren, like when they get their final match, he's just like, all right, I'm gonna make a spirit bomb out of all the energy of the beings who exist here and like all the universes and throw it at Jiren and see what happens. That would be pretty nuts. But even then, like, I would imagine the power he used in the spirit bomb against Jiren probably supersedes a universal spirit bomb.
I think so, but also it's going to be, Goku can't even do that now because they're fighting in the world of Void, and there's not that much explanation, but the world of Void exists outside of the multiverse. Zeno and the world of Void are not part of the 12 universes. It's like a separate dimension outside of those universes. And there's also dimensions inside the universes, so it's all crazy. But if Goku were to gather up energy, I don't believe he would be able to get it from outside of the world of Void. Now, I could be wrong on that. We haven't seen him do it. But at this point, I think they're just going to go with the Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren fight. Now, back to your GT question. The one thing about GT that I always found interesting is that the last dragon he fought, which was Omega Shenron, Yi Xinglong in the Japanese version, he has enough power. His negative energy, because he's composed of pure negative energy, is so strong that it could actually seep through into other universes and other forms of reality. Like the gods even said, once he consumes the earth and the universe, we're next. Like in other words, heaven, like the heavenly realm is next. So that to me, I always felt was interesting because even in GT, you had characters that would do stuff that's just ridiculous. But I do believe in Super, they've gone past that. It's hard to say because they're two different branches of canon. You've got the GT continuity and the Super continuity. But if you were to combine them, it's tough to say if Jiren can block a multiversal. If Goku's never done a Genki Dama from 12 universes, that's a lot for me.
Oh, it's gonna happen though. You better believe it's gonna happen.
I made the prediction at the beginning of the series as a joke, and it might actually happen.
Whether it's in GT or whether it's actually in the Dragon Ball Z that leads into Super, it's been like a stage thing, right? He's made it out of everything. He made a spirit bomb out of the people on Earth, and then he made a spirit bomb out of the people on Namek. It's increasingly gotten bigger. I mean, I could see him if he made a spirit bomb out of the people who were like in the void, then I can see him being like, well, there's only one thing left, multiversal spirit bomb, and then just like throw it at Jiren.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be enough. The only time we've ever seen a character wipe out a multiverse is Zeno. So that is the highest scale we've seen in Super so far. And I still believe that there is a higher god, because we've only seen Zeno, the Omni King, destroy. We've never seen him create. And I believe there has to be a god, whether it be Toriyama or not, I don't know, but there has to be a god. I like the Jack Kirby joke about him being the one above all. There has to be a god that created the multiverse, and they haven't revealed who that is yet.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If something destroys, something has to create, kind of like a yin and yang. So like that would make sense to me. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess just based on sheer physical strength, I don't think there's anybody out there who can defeat Jiren. Being able to break through dimensional barriers has been done. Goku and Beerus, basically did that in their fight. At least they were cracking the fabric, like the walls of the universe. So like that's something that they can do. Presumably, if they'd fought long enough, that's something they could do. So that knocks out Tryon Juggernaut as a possible candidate. And then when you start looking at anybody who's lower than Tryon Juggernaut, aside from folks who can warp reality, like nobody else with physical strength could probably pull it off. And then grabbing like cosmic entities, if they channel their ability into strength, that one's kind of hard to gauge, because if you have a character like Dormammu, for example, like Doctor Strange made the case once that if Dormammu ever entered the main Marvel universe, like nobody would be able to stop him. But like, what if he just channeled all his energy into a punch? Would he still be able to defeat Jiren? But
no, I was gonna say there's actually one more feat I didn't even get into. So this is the scariest feat Jiren's ever had. I haven't even thought I was saving it for the end. When he fought Hit used well, I believe it's called a time vacuum, because Hit can use time skip. And what happened was Hit trapped Jiren in a time vacuum. In other words, he trapped him in endless time, and Jiren broke out of it. And Vado said, and I quote, "His abilities are more powerful than time itself." We have never seen a character like that.
Dude,
I didn't even mention.
I love your hype, man. Like, your hype is amazing. Yeah, if the guy can defy the laws of time,
it's too much for me.
You're getting into comic book territory, man. You're getting into like Marvel and DC comic stuff.
I didn't even mention that feat because I was saving it for the end here. But yeah, that's ridiculous. He broke out of a time vacuum.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so for those of you guys who are watching this, who are strictly coming from like the Dragon Ball stuff, like what you guys are seeing with this, that's old hat to us in comics. Like we're used to that. Like, it's stuff that we've seen forever. And in all honesty, I think the idea of having too many reality warpers kind of drags down the nature of comics, which is one of the reasons why I always like the idea that Dragon Ball just focused on, hey, a person with all this power, but it's only confined to like how hard they can punch and like how fast they can move and how much energy they can project, because it's a massive amount of power that's limited into like 3 or 4 different, practical uses. Whereas like if you go and look at Marvel, like during Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, these Beyonders, beings from beyond the multiverse, showed up and they destroyed the Living Tribunal, basically this judge of the multiverse. When the Living Tribunal died, a fraction of himself basically fell in every universe that ever existed. Like, it's crazy. Just, when you look at that kind of like abstract concept.
My favorite one is when they killed Lady Death and nobody could die.
Yeah, that was God, what was that? The Thanos imperative, where they killed Mistress Death in an alternate reality and it just filled with life. Like, it was crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy. I laughed when I heard it. Was a while back, but yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts. No, I mean, I mean, I know it's power scaling, and I'm not the biggest fan of power scaling, but that's the only way to make a legitimate argument like that. If Jiren can easily withstand a spirit bomb composed of the most powerful beings in the multiverse, dead or alive, and if Jiren can basically break out of the constraints of time itself, and if Jiren can easily, block the punch of a person who could conceivably punch reality, or at the very least, the impact of his punches can basically fracture reality, I cannot imagine anyone in the Marvel universe that would stand a chance against Jiren. I mean, I guess maybe if we invoked like the one above all, or like the Living Tribunal, I guess sure, or like super powerful reality warpers who can just rematerialize him. But even then, it's not a guarantee, because you're talking about a being with a level of power that's so astronomically high that it's almost unconceivable.
But you've also got the hack characters. Like, I would think that Professor X might be able to crack his brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess a telepathic character could probably do that. But I don't know. I mean, like, okay, so the whole idea of Ultra Instinct hits at the idea that it's basically autopilot. Like, Goku's body just instinctively instinctively reacts, which at that point, it's not even about the mind, it's about what the spirit of the body does, because that's been the whole idea of Dragon Ball. Like, it's, you know, being a good fighter is a combination of just like strength and spirit, as opposed to like, you know, how smart you are. But if it comes down to that level, you know, if Kira Toriyama and then finally like give us like an Origins episode more or less, where it's like the origin of Jiren, which will be like the most watched episode of Dragon Ball ever, then I feel like they would basically say like between his meditation and everything you've seen so far, he's a being of like pure energy, you know, or like he exists on a spiritual level that's so astronomically high people can't challenge it. And even at that point, it's not a matter of the mind. I mean, I guess you could, you know.
You'd have to get him when he wasn't fighting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, but, and I mean, even then, like, if you remove the strength factor and reality warping power, there's other characters who are out there, like Jason Wingard. He's basically, he's a really weak character. No way he would stand a chance against Jiren in physical fighting, but Mastermind has the ability to basically manipulate the five senses. Everything you see, touch, smell, taste, and hear all becomes reality if he wants it to be. And so I guess you could just trap Jiren in that kind of a situation, but I imagine if Jiren realizes what's going on, he would just break out of it. So I don't know. It's clearly a level of power that we've never seen before in any of the Dragon Ball canon. So it's kind of crazy.
No, and again, it's one of those things where when he cracked time, I didn't even know how to take that. Like, it's just, I did think about comics, and I thought about just, like you said earlier in this thing, where do they go from here?
Yeah, where do you go with a character that incredibly powerful? I mean, I don't know. I feel like you would just plateau. Because at that point, when you have a character that's that insanely strong, then you just kind of get into levels of silliness. You know?
What about the Beyonder? Like, how do you feel about him against Jiren?
Well, like I said, I mean, at that point, you're talking about an incredible level of power. I mean, you're talking about like reality warping. The Beyonder was, back when in Secret Wars 2, he was, I think, right below the One Above All. He was so powerful that like the Living Tribunal and all the cosmic entities went to the Molecule Man Owen Reese and said, you have to fight this guy. Like, we've got nothing on him. I mean, you are talking about an insane level of power. But again, I think with characters like that, it's really more reality warping than anything else. I mean, I guess with that much power, they could punch Jiren. But even then, I mean, like I said, Jiren is easily able to withstand the punch of a person whose impact of their punches can fracture reality. So I don't know. I mean, now I guess it'd be different if Goku had just like punched reality and broke it, you know, and then Jiren was easily able to overcome that, because then that creates a far more quantifiable thing. But you know, it's really just kind of conjecture at that point when it's like, well, they could have fractured reality if it had gone on long enough. But
I mean, that's what they said. They said that if Goku and Beerus had kept going, it would have put the entire universe in danger.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm curious, like, leave a comment, because I want to know what you guys think. I mean, I know there's a lot of like Jiren fans out there, and I know there's a lot of people who were just like, I hate Jiren, he's a plot device, he's ruining Dragon Ball. So let me know down in the comments, because I'm kind of curious. And yeah, make sure you guys check out Danny over at Geekdom 101. You have anything you want to say to him before we bounce off here?
Thanks a lot for having me. Check me out, Geekdom 101, and I want to do this again sometime. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, this is pretty amazing. This is cool. I mean, it's a great way to kill half an hour. So, and people love stuff like this. It's kind of crazy. There's no definitive answers. And people are just like, I just want to see what people think. I want to see if they agree with me. So,
and they're going to fight about it forever.
They are. Man, the comment section is just going to be filled with so much arguing. Anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. Like I said, go check out Geekdom. Make sure you guys go check out his channel. Pretty solid stuff. Like, it's where I go to get all my stuff about Dragon Ball. So make sure you guys go check him out. And yeah. We will catch you all later.
Peace.
Oh, really?
I cut you off. I had to go. Yeah, let me do that one.
Peace.